The Gladys Porter Zoo is located in the center of the Mitty Cultural District in Brownsville, Texas. For over 47 years, the zoo has been an attraction for families, students, and tourists. In 1986, the Valley Zoological Endowment was launched by a pledge from the Earl C. Sams Foundation to match the first $2 million raised. And another matching pledge of $1 million came from the Lightner Sam Foundation. That same year, the Newhouse Foundation made the first gift of $500,000. In 1987, the first transfer of $25,000 was made to the zoo. By the end of 1989, pledges and monies collected reached $3.2 million. 7 years later, in 1996, a new campaign was created to increase the endowment to $10 million. By 1998, the Valley Zoological Endowment had met its goal. In 2001, the endowment reached $13.7 million and $925,000 was transferred to the zoo. But during rough market conditions between 2003 and 2005, the endowment fund began to decline. By 2006, a third campaign was launched to bring the endowment back to the previous level. Here we are, 2018. You Are the Zoo Endowment Enhancement Campaign is moving full steam ahead. And as of March 31st, $17 million has been transferred to the zoo from the endowment.
It's sort of an involved story. My name is Bruce Hahn. I am Gladys Porter's grandson, who was the daughter of Earl C. Sams, and Earl C. Sams was a partner of J.C. Penney, and in 1946 he set up the Earl C. Sams Foundation, and it ended up being managed by my grandmother, and her passion was animals and conservation, and the foundation built, stocked, and gave the zoo to the city of Brownsville. I remember it, very well. I mean, my sister and I were the ones that actually cut the ribbon on it, and I remember that, and I remember getting very jealous of my sister because Susie the orangutan would play with her and not with me, but anyway.
My mother and Gladys were best friends. I kind of grew up with the family, came here in 1936, so I've been here 80 years, and I was on the original zoo board. Had an interest in seeing that we could raise enough money to permanently endow the zoo. Well, we decided after Gladys passed away that the zoo had to have an endowment, not be dependent totally on the Sams Foundation. So we decided that if we could raise $3 million and the Sams Foundation would put up $3 million in matching funds, we would start off with a $6 million endowment and not be so dependent upon the Sams Foundation.
The zoo actually offers a lot of educational programs. They have a wonderful discovery center that offers educational programs throughout the year. They do outreach programs in where they will visit local schools, they will visit local businesses. People are able to see a live animal and sometimes even touch an animal. Students are able to ask questions. They're able to describe their observations. They are able to use their observation skills to complete simple investigations while learning about animals and their habitats, and at the same time they are building on vocabulary. The zoo it really does have so much to offer, not just to kids, but adults, everyone of all ages.
Most recently, we work with about 50,000 students on a yearly basis. We work with about 20,000 students that participate in some type of educational program on site at the zoo. The rest are part of outreach presentations and events that we participate in throughout the community, going to the school districts, taking our animal ambassadors to different classrooms throughout the schools and throughout the valley. Our biggest program, which is our summer safari program, we see now about 1,000 students within a 10-week period through the summer.
My favorite thing about visiting the zoo is touching the stingrays and looking at the African hunting dogs and feeding the giraffes. If we didn't have the zoo, then a bunch of animals would be dying and they would be starting to turn into clothes that we don't really much need. We have like enough of that. I think we need to start thinking about the animals, because it's their home also, it's not just ours.
We have a couple, as you can see here. Here's one example. This is a black spotted newt. This is a threatened amphibian species here in Texas. We do a lot of work with them. We do conservation breeding. We have a field conservation study in Tamaulipas to assure the habitat in which they live at. And we also work with several government agencies to raise awareness for the Texas tortoise, another threatened Texas species. We do a lot of work with the Kemp's Ridley sea turtle, which is endemic to the Gulf of Mexico, and it's a binational species. The zoo has been involved for over 40 years in working to conserve the Kemp's Ridley sea turtle population.
When the zoo was asked by the Fish and Wildlife Service in 1981, to administer that program on their behalf in Mexico, we were down at a low point in 1985 to 287 nesting turtles. And last year we had 24,000 plus nesting nests at Rancho Nuevo.
The zoo is the most active wildlife rehabilitation organization in the Rio Grande Valley. There's only two that I know of. We are the biggest, and we've been doing this since the zoo's inception. Our main goal is to get these animals released. We're not here to create zoo animals. So all of the animals that are healthy enough to resume their normal function back in the wild are released in a location as close as possible that we can get to the location where they were found.
So actually my great-grandmother was Gladys Porter, and so I grew up coming to the zoo and I just fell in love with it, and once I started doing vet stuff, I knew that I wanted to come here and follow in her footsteps. I think my great-grandmother started this zoo for a cause, and that was to conserve wildlife and just help the environment, but also help the people of Brownsville and South Texas.
The zoo is important to our family because for multiple generations now, we've visited the zoo, we've used it as a resource. It's a great opportunity for us to have family time together, but also to educate our kids about animals, wildlife, conservation, and the ecosystem around us. A donation to the endowment makes a huge impact. It enables us to literally keep the zoo's doors open, to literally continue feeding the animals, to literally pay our staff's salaries. It's so important that we continue supporting the zoo and supporting the endowment specifically.
The first major gift came from McAllen. We had gifts from Laredo, the Jimmy Storm in Corpus Christi. The Hans hosted a benefit for us, a luncheon to raise money in Corpus. So it's a valley-wide, really a South Texas institution, not just Brownsville.
Every donation we get, not only is it appreciated, it's needed, and it helps us, whether it's with operations, building new exhibits, or in some instances, our endowment. And our endowment is the long-term future security of the zoo.
I have a different view of it. I mean, my answer to that question is, why wouldn't you make a donation to the endowment? Because the endowment is the security for the zoo. That's what carries you through bad times, good times. It is the one that plans for the future. And with any charity, I know with the foundation, we're always very impressed if somebody has the foresight, you know, to ask the money to build this, that, or the other, that they also have the foresight to go in and start an endowment to to be able to fund what they're building. It's extremely important.
This has all been made possible because of people like you donating to the You Are the Zoo Enhancement Campaign. Let's keep the endowment growing so we can make sure that Gladys Porter Zoo will stay right here in the Rio Grande Valley for many generations to come. Thank you.